Welcome to another episode of the jcontra Famicom Dojo. On a Saturday morning, some people might go to the gym, they might go out for a run. I am here to become a professional gamer at every single game ever made. And today's game is Donkey Kong Jr. for the Famicom. Released in 1983, one of the games that first came out for the Famicom, and we are here to become professional level at Donkey Kong Jr. It's very different from Donkey Kong. It's not like the Donkey Kong that I played last night. But when did Donkey Kong come out? I think Donkey Kong came out in 81 in the arcade. And I believe Donkey Kong Jr. came out in 1982. Now, professional level gamer, I think I did this once. Jump here, you time your jump right? Nope. There's a way to get on that platform using the springboard. You just have to time it right. Oh, look at that shit. You see that? That is professional level shit right there. That is what happens when you become good at the game. Boom. Boom. Oh, so there are 4 levels of Donkey Kong Jr. There's only 3. I think the arcade version had an extra level in the original Donkey Kong that I think they had to cut for space reasons in the Famicom version. Time it. Right! There we go. Oh, yes. Oh, look at that shit. Shit. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Come on. No! Oh. I should have. You gotta hold on. You gotta hold on with both. You gotta two-hand it. Now, what did I always have a problem with? I think I usually have a problem with this very last little key here. Put that guy on ice. Easy sauce. Ooh, dodged it. Dodged it! We gonna kill the bird? Oh, the bird is toast. And we have freed Donkey Kong. And I guess Mario is dead. We just killed Mario. That is how professional we have become in just these few short moments. We killed Mario. Okay, come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Yep. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. There we go. Made it up. Made it up the vines. Focus. Let's focus. Okay, now we need to do the jump. Oh, yes! Oh, that feels good. Come on, come on. We need to focus. Cross. Yep, there we go. That's it. That's the business. I hope my stream is going okay, because when I reload, it keeps giving me the pause flashes. Does anybody else encounter this? I don't know if there's a problem with my graphics card on my laptop or what. But sometimes I will load YouTube videos, and the video will flash like the pause button. It'll be like, oh, video, pause button, video, pause button, video, pause button. Like, you know, the big pause symbol on a black background. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why it does it. Sometimes when I refresh, there's no problem. And I'm hoping that right now it is just a problem with my computer and not with the stream. Let's take care of the last one first. Okay, good. Push him up. Push him up. Get him in. To be honest, Donkey Kong Jr. feels a little easy compared to the original Donkey Kong. But just because it is easy does not mean we should lose focus. In fact, it means we should probably double our attention, because it being easy could lull us into a false sense of security. And I bet Shigeru Miyamoto, he was thinking, how can I destroy the hopes and dreams of the people playing this game? I will lull them into a false sense of security, and I will crush them. That's why we have to train. We have to become better at Donkey Kong Jr. Stuck in that corner. Rookies get stuck in that corner. But I'm a professional. And we made it through. Here we go. Let's come back on the rebound. Yes. Oh my god. Oh, that is so satisfying. I was never able to pull that off before. But I practiced, and I worked hard, and now I am a professional Donkey Kong Jr. jumper. Easy. Too easy. Too easy. You know what, the game, it said it was too easy, and now they're just throwing more evil spark demons at us. Before we had to contend with the flame demons, now we have spark demons that we must jump over. We must literally overcome the spark demons. And we did it. You know what, I'm saying it's easy, but it's not. It's not actually easy. It's just easy because I am so good at this game. But I can imagine for normal people, people who have not trained as hard as I have, it could be quite difficult. It only becomes easy when you focus, you learn the patterns, you have to realize, you have to hone in and figure out how these developers were trying to ruin your life. This game came out in 1982, that is 25 years ago. 25 years ago, Shigeru Miyamoto sat down in Kyoto and thought, how can I ruin millions of people's lives? And that is by putting in spark demons and birds that tried to kill Donkey Kong Jr. And so I am here in the year 2017, figuring out ways to say, no, Shihiro, my life is going to be about defeating you and defeating your game. I don't care if I have to practice and train, I'm going to do it. Okay, these guys are sneaky. They're sneaky. Come on, come on. Alright, Red Demon. Red Demon, go down, Red Demon. There we go. So again, that's the amateur's corner right there. But we did not get trapped. We did it. We made it through. Yes! Oh, stuck it. Oh my god. That is... You know, I could just turn off the game right now. I would be satisfied with my level of development by sticking that jump every single time. Oh, Fancy! What brings you to the dojo this morning, Fancy? Well, I guess it's probably the nighttime for you. But I'm here training to become a professional Donkey Kong Jr. player. I know there are no major tournaments for Donkey Kong Jr. yet, but when they happen, I will dominate them. Come on! Oh! Yes. Beautiful. Where do you live, Fancy? What time is it? It is 9 o'clock in the a.m. here in the south of Japan. You know, I had to move to Japan to open up my dojo. That is how devoted I am to becoming a professional gamer. I mean, I already am. I need to correct myself. I already am a professional gamer. I just need to become a professional at every game ever made. Unlocked. Come on, come on. Yep, come on, come on. Good. Hold on, I'll get right back to you, Fancy. I just need to get this last lock. Actually, am I safe down here? I'm safe down here. No, it's not. The reason I came to Japan is because this is where all of the games are. I could have opened my dojo anywhere in the world. I needed it to be Japan so I could have access to all of the games ever made. Because I can get the games here, and if I need games that were made outside of the country, I just download that shit. And because, to be frank, most of the games that were made from about 1983 to, let's say, to about 2007, they were made in Japan. What the fuck? What is it? Oh my god. I just died. But that's what happens. You're not always going to be going forward when you practice. Have I hit my limit? Have I hit my limit? This is as much as I can lift. I think I have hit my limit. Level 5. Very interesting. But more, it's I have to pay attention. And I have to focus. Nintendo has put so many obstacles in my way. Ugh! Bit my little hand. Ugh. So that's it. That's alright. That's level to beat. We're here to beat level 5. That's what we're here to do. Central Time. Central Texas. 6:15 in the PM. Oh my god. I'm not paying attention. I'm not paying attention. I mean, look, when someone else steps into the dojo, you can't just focus on your training all the time. You need to focus on people. Because what would be the point of training if it weren't for other people? You know, yeah, his design, man, they made him pretty big. I did not notice that before, but it is now front and center in my mind. Thank you for that, Fancy. Professional jump! Oh my god. Oh, I'm losing the touch. I'm losing the touch. Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's coming back. Do it. Boom. Done. So Fancy, your mercantile empire is centered around Central Texas. Central Texas. Have I ever been? I'm pretty sure I've been. I used to live in New Mexico for a time. That was before my professional gaming days. But my grandmother used to live in Austin for a while. So I have been to Texas. Actually, a lot of my life has weirdly centered around Texas. I don't know how that happened. Because my dad was born in Texas. My grandmother used to live in Austin for a while. I used to live near Texas for a couple years. I lived like on the New Mexico-Texas border. And now, one of my best friends lives with his family near Dallas. And also, I have one of my friends in Japan. He is from Texas. My favorite part about Texas is so my friend had his wedding in Texas. And at the hotel I was staying at for the wedding, at the breakfast bar, they had a waffle maker that made waffles in the shape of Texas, the state. I wish I could find that. I don't really have any loyalty to any state, but if I could, I would love to have a Texas-shaped waffle maker. That would be incredible. It was already a huge get finding a waffle maker in Japan. You really don't find those anywhere. But I bought one for like $100, and I use it like every week to make waffles. Because waffles are one of the best foods ever made. They are what fuel my professional gaming. Double jump! Oh, look at that shit! Let me tell you about where I lived in New Mexico, Fancy. New Mexico was a hellscape. I lived in Arizona for a time. And that was actually not too bad. Oh, that's what happens when you're not paying attention. You get isolated. But New Mexico, I lived in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. For some reason, the U.S. military decided to put a giant air base in the ass-end middle of nowhere of New Mexico, and I was stuck there for like 2 years. And it was just massive fields. Massive fields of nothing. Tumbleweeds. That's what I remember. I would go to school, and you would see along the road while we were driving along in the bus, there were just tumbleweeds everywhere. I feel like tumbleweeds will one day take over the entire southwestern United States, if they have not already. You know, so think about waffles in Japan, to sidetrack a little bit. Japan is very weird. I mean, weird is the wrong word, but we see a lot of these Western things in Japan. I do, at least. And I kind of just assume they're American, because I'm American. And so when I see something like a hamburger, I'm like, oh, that's American. And that would, for a lot of things, be true. Like, Japan has corn dogs that are very American. Got hamburgers that are American style. But when you look at other things that are Western, things that are non-Japanese, you see waffles in Japan, but they're not real waffles. They're the European style of waffle. And I learned after visiting Belgium a couple years ago, Belgian waffles, what Americans consider Belgian waffles, aren't actually what they eat in Belgium. This was shocking to me, because I went to Belgium for two reasons. To eat chocolate, and to eat waffles. And I get there, and what are the waffles? They're these little square things. They're like this big. They're nothing. They're like desserts. They're not breakfast treats. They're desserts. They did not have the fluffy, massive, pancake-like waffles that I was expecting. And so when I came to Japan, and I saw they do have some waffle shops in Japan, but they're not breakfast places. They're just like candy stores. Because you find them. You find these little waffles. They're tough. They're candied. They're coated in sugar. They're coated in chocolate. They're coated in, like, candied fruit. They're not the waffles that you and I would appreciate. And that's why I have to make my own. I did once for a time live in China. This was on the cusp of becoming a professional gamer. But in China, I did have a dream that if I was going to open a business there, it would be an all-day breakfast location. Because, let me tell you about something, Japanese breakfast is terrible, Chinese breakfast is terrible. The only good breakfast that I encountered in China was at Fancy Hotel and the McDonald's breakfast. You could get McGriddles in China. And so it's not something I would eat every day, but, you know, on a special occasion, I would go to McDonald's and get a sausage and egg McGriddle. Boom goes the dynamite. Honestly, I don't know why... I saw an article not too long ago that claimed that American breakfast was basically dessert. And yes, that is true. But that doesn't mean you can eat breakfast foods for dessert. Or like a snack. Because what is a muffin? But a muffin is really just a dessert when you think about it. A waffle, also kind of desserty. More pastry-like. But that doesn't mean you can just open up a shop that only sells muffins as snacks and not include other breakfast materials in that shop, like they do with the waffles. I can't believe it. You know, Fancy, I don't think I ever asked you, what do you sell as part of your mercantile empire? Like, you told me you sold stuff on Amazon. Maybe you told me... You probably told me what you sell, but I've completely forgotten. Okay, gotta time this right, gotta time this right. Gotta be professional. Professional jump! Oh my god! Oh, that was close. You take the risk, you take the reward. Toys, games, and puzzles. What? Oh, yeah. So what, like, what games? Like, what are we talking about? Like, are we talking, you say toy games and puzzles, are these games, they're not video games, are they? Like, would these be, like, board games? Is that what you specialize in? Could I get a deal on Settlers of Catan from you? Regular box games. You know what? DVD games have, like, are we talking like, what's that DVD game? I played a DVD game once, a while back. You know, well, it was a board game slash DVD game. What was it called? It was like, it was about like, was it about movies? Yeah, I think it was about movies where, like, you would play it with a group of friends, and it would, like, just ask you questions about movies and stuff. And obviously you had to do better than everyone else in the room. I can't remember what that was called, though. What's the hot board game of 2017, Fancy? Because it seems like board games have exploded, probably ever since I came to Japan. And that's actually something that's interesting that I've noticed, is that in Japan, board games weren't really a thing 5 years ago. But very recently, I've noticed an explosion in localized board games. So, like, Settlers of Catan has kind of been a thing here, but recently I've been able to go... You are only able ever to find this stuff on the internet. But now I'm seeing it in physical locations at, like, you know, like, at the equivalent of, like, the GameStop of Japan. I have seen physical copies of Settlers of Catan. And that's revolutionary. That shit, I would say even 2 or 3 years ago you didn't see. What else has come? I'd say Settlers is the big one, but then I think, you know, Life has always been kind of big in Japan. Like, you've especially seen a lot of video games based on the board game. Although I rarely ever saw the actual board game itself in stores. Usually I saw more video game versions of Life than I did the actual board game. But now all of those specialist board games, like, you know, Settlers of Catan-esque games have been coming out in Japan, and that's been very shocking to me. Monopoly with dogs? Wait, this isn't Monopoly for dogs, is it? Dogs are not playing Monopoly. It's just Monopoly, but all of the characters are dogs. Is that what is? I hope that's the case. You know, I only ever owned one copy of Monopoly. And it was the Pokemon Gotta Catch 'Em All edition of Monopoly. And the box that I bought was missing pieces. It was missing, like, Marvin Gardens or whatever one of the green ones was. It was missing that card. Missing a couple cards, actually. I don't think I lost them. It's possible. I had it when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I never paid attention. So it's very possible that I lost it myself. But I very much remember not having some of those pieces in my Pokemon Monopoly set. And it was a damn shame. Ah, okay. The figures are dogs. That was one of the... Wasn't there a dog in one of the original... The dog was one of the original pieces, right? So what's your hustle, Fancy? You have like do you have like a distributor that you buy these games from and then you sell them on Amazon? Or do you like find these games somewhere, pick them up for cheap, and then flip them? Although I guess what is buying from a distributor? What is it if not flipping in its own way? Speaking of flipping, I was at the local GameStop, if you will, recently, and they had a bunch of the Link amiibos for like 12 bucks. And so I kind of thought about buying some and flipping them on eBay. So I think they're still going. It was like the Ocarina of Time Link, some of the Breath of the Wild links. That stuff is still really expensive on eBay, and I wonder if the Christmas rush isn't going to make them even more expensive. As more and more people buy Switches, as more and more of them get Breath of the Wild, they're going to want Link amiibos, and I bet I made a big mistake not picking them up. Oh, and that's interesting. So, you mentioned that Amazon, that scanner app, that is actually something I should probably pick up. Because in that way, whenever I go video game shopping, I could scan them amiibos and know when I'm getting a good deal or not. I have very mixed feelings about amiibos. Back in the day, I used to hustle amiibos. A few years ago, back when they first came out. Oh, my hand, my beautiful hand. But back in the day, like, it's insane to me that amiibos have been out for, I would say, 2 years now. Yeah, probably 2 or 3 years. And Nintendo still has not figured that shit out. It is still, there are still $40 amiibos around. That is crazy to me. You would think that Nintendo would have found a solution. They would have, you know, been better able to anticipate market demand. But they still haven't figured that shit out. And people are making boatloads of money. I know, because for a hot second, I made a boatload of money. I paid for a trip to Hong Kong using my amiibo profits. Not that Hong Kong was terribly expensive to begin with, but still. The flights weren't cheap, at least. You know, I don't believe it's by design, Fancy. I believe that Nintendo is so scared shitless about overproduction. For one, because Japanese companies, it seems to me, just in my anecdotal market research, that Japanese companies are incredibly afraid of overproducing and having excess stock left on shelves. I don't know if that's a space thing, because Japan does not have, you know, it does not have the large facilities. It doesn't have the Walmarts. It doesn't have, I would say, even, you know, just the warehouses necessary to hold extra stock. And it's one of the phenomenons that I've noticed in Japan in my long years here is that when you go to a supermarket in America and you see all of this stuff on the grocery aisle shelves. You see just an overabundance of fruits, an overabundance of processed foods, of everything. In Japan, that is only true when they have freshly stocked the shelves. When it gets to be about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and you want to go buy something at the supermarket, they probably won't even have it. Especially with the fresh stuff, especially with the breads, I've noticed. There will just be nothing. You will just see empty shelves full of nothing. If you're lucky, they will have the shitty, thick Texas toast bread that drives me nuts. And I am going to extrapolate that fact, and I'm going to say that I think Nintendo is so afraid of having extra SNES classics sitting around on store shelves. They're afraid of extra Switches being around. They're afraid of having to take that inventory and dispose of it themselves or have to store it somewhere or anything. And one of the problems that you've seen with Amiibo in the last year or so is that people really want certain Amiibos. Those are the Amiibos that keep their value. They stay at the $13 or whatever. But then you see the other Amiibo, for example, like the Mario Amiibo, or like the Animal Crossing Amiibos. Nobody really wanted those, so they went from about $13 when they first came out to the bargain bin of like $3. Like, I think during Black Friday, I think they've been discounted even lower. I think you could pick up a Toad Amiibo at Best Buy for like $2. And I think Nintendo desperately wants to avoid that situation, so they are not necessarily okay with scalpers making boatloads of money. They, I think, see that as the necessary collateral damage to a strategy that minimizes overproduction. Let's see, Omgold Spruce, when you'll be going to Hard Off again. I love those videos. Oh, you know, I want to go, you know, maybe I'll just go today. I don't know. My problem with going to Hard Off is that when I go to Hard Off, I am tempted to spend money. And I have spent so much money on video games within the last calendar year that I'm trying to hold off. I'm trying to actually play the games that I have bought. And when I go to Hard Off, I just buy more games that I don't need right now. But then I'm also not seeing what's out there. I'm not keeping track of values, and I'm not seeing what's out there. My ultimate fear is that I go to a Hard Off and I see the ultimate deal, but I just can't afford it. And so that's kind of why I haven't been going on any Hard Off adventures recently. But I think I might go probably within the next couple weeks. I actually kind of go to the local Hard Off kind of once a week, once every other week. I might do more videos there because 20 minutes is not enough to do a Hard Off justice. Like, I think I need to start doing deeper dives into what they have. Hit the junk section, hit just the literal bins of just Super Nintendo games that they have. Maybe that's what I'll do today. I didn't really have any big plans for today. But I was kind of thinking about heading into town. And so, you know, why not? We'll see. I'll think about it. The cheap consoles, you know, the one that I live near now. The thing is I moved a couple months ago from a small town that did not even have a train station, which is a pretty big deal in Japan. It's pretty remote. But it took me about an hour and a half to get to the nearest Hard Off. But where I live now, I'm now within 20 minutes of a Hard Off. And I am about 40 minutes from another Hard Off. So I want to be careful, and I don't want to go to the same Hard Off too often. Make too many of the same videos. But, you know, maybe I'm gonna go. I think I might do a deeper dive today. Maybe that's what I'll do, because it's kind of be a while before I can go on another trip where I can hit a lot of Hard Offs in a single day. We'll see. Nah, Fancy, by my lady friends, you mean my mom, my niece, and my sister. Those are my current lady friends. In that... Oh, God. Let's not even go there. Those are the women that I am buying gifts for, presently. Come on. Yep. But I do, you know, I need shells. That's what I need. I don't have any shelves in my house. I've been living here for 3 months and I don't have any shelves. I bought a really nice entertainment unit, which is what my TV is sitting on now. But I don't have any shelves. So maybe I'll head into town today. I did get paid a few days ago, so I got a little extra cash to burn. Yeah, how much do shelves cost? $10? Okay, come to me, blue monster. Yes, indeed, I am playing, I'm playing on the AV Famicom. I have an original Famicom in America. But the problem with the original Famicom, as I'm sure you know, is that I don't even think I could. How would you even capture an original Famicom? You would, because since the AV out is coax, I guess, you know, the thing is, so the thing with the AV Famicom is that it's the newer Famicom. But I have actually seen in some Japanese shops, there are people who will modify original Famicoms. There's a way you can do it. I don't exactly know how, but I've seen instructions on it. You can mod original Famicoms, you know, with the wired controllers and everything, to output through composite video. I think you need to buy a separate, like, I know you need to do some soldering, you need to solder some wires. I'm not sure if you need to buy an extra circuit board or anything. I think you need a resistor or two. There's a way you can do it, I just haven't figured it out. When is the last time I was back home? I was back home last Christmas. So that would have been, you know, Christmas 2016. That was, so that would have been about a year ago. I will be going back in less than a month now. I'll be going back the 21st, I think. The 21st or the 22nd. And I will be bringing back my customary, literally, what is it? Let's see, it's 23 kilograms. Oh yeah, my literal 100 pounds of video games that I bring back every time I go home. Because I buy so much crap that I have to bring 2 giant checked bags that I literally have to weigh out to make sure that I don't go over the limit. But what am I bringing back this time? I bought... Let's see, I'm bringing back a Sega Genesis Model 2. Model 2 Sega Saturn in the box. Thanks, Amg. Yeah, it is 9 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock in the AM here. Just getting a little morning training. On the road to becoming a professional Donkey Kong Jr. player. It's not easy, but they didn't say it was going to be easy. You know, if you want, I would recommend against buying an American SNES. For one, because the Super Famicoms are so much cheaper. And I also discovered one of the considerations when buying a Japanese console is voltage. Because Japan runs, I think, on 100 volts. And America runs on 120-ish or something. And so if you try plugging a Super Famicom into an American plug, it's not necessarily going to work. Although I've heard reports of you can actually do it, but you run the risk of frying your console. But what I do at home is I bought this. It's like a dual. It was a third-party power brick that has 2 ends. One end is for a Super Nintendo, and the other end is for a Sega Genesis. Apparently, the Sega Genesis plug will work on the Super Famicom. So I use the Sega Genesis, and because the power bricks for the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom are shaped similarly, but the ends are different, so you cannot plug a Super Nintendo power brick into a Super Famicom. But what you can do is you can find like a third-party plug that has multiple ends, like, you know, for a TurboGrafx and a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis. Use the Sega Genesis plug and play your Super Famicom no problem. Plus, Super Famicom games are so much cheaper, and that's why I'd also recommend getting a Japanese Saturn. Because if you can find a, if you can get one of those, like, 5-in-1, 4-in-1 action replays, you can hack those and play games, not only burned games, but region-free games. Oh, you don't like Spruce? How long am I planning on streaming? I'm planning on streaming until I become a professional level Donkey Kong Jr. player. Nope, you're not gonna eat me. You're not gonna eat me. But the Japanese Saturn is considerably cheaper. I was at a used game shop in America last time I was home, and they were selling a black American Sega Saturn for, I think it was $60 out of the box. Like $60? I bought a complete Japanese Saturn for half that. I'm talking box, manual, everything. Oh shit, no, dude, you shouldn't have, I mean, cutting the tabs, I mean, I guess the damage is only superficial, but one of the things, like, what you can do, and I think what they still make, is you can either get a Game Shark, which I think is more expensive, but they have little adapters that plug in their little, they're, you know, little slots that you can put at, you know, you just plug it into the slot, so you're plugging your Super Famicom games into this adapter. But I guess, you know, if you want to do it on the cheap, you can just cut the tabs. I actually did that because, you know, N64s are literally like $5 here. So I did cut the tabs on on my region-free N64. Let's see. Tower of Daruga. You know, I have not played it yet, but you're right. It is very popular. It actually got so popular that I think they started making, Namco a while back started making cell phone cases in the shape of its original Famicom cartridges. So you could get a Galaga cartridge, you get like a Galaxian cartridge as your cell phone case. And I believe Tower of Daruga was part of that series. I've seen it around, I just haven't played it yet. I haven't gotten to it. Yeah, that's true, because, you know, when you put the adapter in, like, the game starts, like, it doesn't even really sit in the console anymore. It sits, like, on top of the console. So you're right, it doesn't look the way it should look. It doesn't look the way you remember it. And so that's, you know, that's half the fun of playing these games, is you want to play it like you remembered it. But hold on, $70 for a Sega Saturn? You know, maybe in Tokyo you would pay $70 for a Sega Saturn here, but nah, I wouldn't do it. And plus, American Saturn games are too expensive. Like, there are plenty of expensive Sega Saturn games in this country, but when I can buy Panzer Dragoon Saga for $20, or like Burning Rangers, $20, Dragon Force, $10. There's just no question. Plus, if you get a Japanese Saturn, you get the Pro Action Replay, you hack it with Pseudo Saturn, as I've done. You can play burned games too. So, you know, I'm playing Batsugun, even though that's a $200 game that I don't have yet. How much is Christmas Nights? Is like It's like $2 here. Christmas Nights is nothing. 13? Holy shit, Spruce. Oh my god. You weren't even alive when these games came out. Holy shit. Alright, so now I understand your money problems, Spruce. I get ya. I remember being 13. And, what was I doing when I was 13? Yeah, I was playing miniature games. I was playing Warhammer. And so I did not have money for, the retro games. So and plus, back when I was 13, retro games were nothing. You have picked the absolute worst time to get into retro games, Spruce. But yeah, you're right. There, you know... Oh, can I not do the pro... I can't do the pro gamer jump. Look at this shit. Alright, we're gonna test. Pro gamer jump! I don't think you can. Wow, level 5. Oh my god. Because I remember the first retro game I ever bought, I guess I would have been 16. So I guess not too different from how old you are now, Spruce. But when I was 16, I bought Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo. Because I had borrowed it from a friend when I was in the 4th grade, and I loved it, but, you know, my money was limited. I didn't have enough to buy my own copy. Plus, I played the game once. I was in the 4th grade. I didn't care. I was more obsessed with Ocarina of Time. But then when I was 16, I was like, no, I need Super Mario. I need it now. And so I went down to the local retro game store, and I bought it for about $25. And that was expensive even then, like 25 bucks. Back in 06, 07 for Super Mario RPG. That was too expensive, but I wanted it, so I bought it. But now Super Mario RPG is like a, what, $40, $45 game? Fancy. I played Warhammer 40,000. I don't actually play it anymore because it's kind of hard to find a game in Japan, but I still paint the miniatures. So I still have all my armies. I had Necrons. I have Necrons. I still have a few Dark Eldar. Dark Eldar were my first army. Then I went to Necrons. Then it was Chaos. And now I have Horus Heresy Space Marines that I'm painting to be Emperor's Children. But I also played recently the Warhammer Total War, which I thought was really fun. I played a campaign as the dwarves, and boy does that shit get dark. Like, I remember I played as the dwarves, I conquered all of the orc strongholds, and then I went up into the realms of men, and just everything was turned to darkness. Like, the chaos had obliterated half the map, and the vampire counts took over the other half. And I was like, holy shit, this is insane. But then I, you know, helped save the world because I was the dwarves. Yeah, I was very edgy. Fancy. I was so the Dark Eldar. They see into my soul. My soul is pain. I played them for about a year, but then I saw the Necrons, and then I was just taken. I would actually play the Necrons again if I had more money, but right now I only try and get the deals. So I loved getting the Horus Heresy box sets because you get so much. I think it's like, what, 125 bucks on Amazon, and you get like I've bought a set every year, and I can put them together in a few months, but there's just so much that there's not enough time to paint all that shit. So I try to limit what I buy. Although if I had infinite money, oh my god, I want to buy Tau. I want to get into Eldar, but that's for the future. Oh, my hand. Let's see. Let's see. Spruce asking, how much is an original Xbox? An original Xbox in Japan costs... I wouldn't pay more than 40 bucks for one, to be honest. And actually, now is the time... Spruce, if you want to be ahead in terms of Japanese video games before they explode in price, if I were you, this is what I'm doing now personally. I am buying up Xbox 360 stuff. I'm buying up Xbox 360 consoles and shooters. Because the Xbox 360, the PS3, and I'd say to a certain extent the Wii, they're all in their trough. They're all at the point where they're never going to be cheaper than they are now. So you've got lots of really good Xbox 360 games that only ever came out in Japan. Like, we're talking some of the Dodonpachis, a lot of the cave shooters. Dodonpachi, Death Smiles, Mushihime, all that stuff. That's all, I mean, for A-grade Mandarake, like where it's going to be overpriced, 30 or 20 bucks for, you know, an amazing shooter. And I will bet you anything in 10 years, they're going to be pushing $100. Going off of what I've seen Sega Saturn games go, you're going to have all these otaku who are going to want to relive their lives now, basically, and they're going to be paying top dollar for Xbox 360 games that did not have huge print runs. Complete Xboxes, 50 bucks. I wouldn't pay more than that, probably. I actually haven't seen one in a long time, obviously because they didn't sell too well. But I'm seeing Xbox 360s complete. I'd say 40 or 50 for a complete original Xbox. Xbox 360, I buy them loose for about, I think I bought one loose for like 60 bucks last time they were on sale. An Xbox, wow. Well, I think the thing about the Xboxes in Japan is that because they didn't sell well, they still kind of have held their value. Like, it's not like, the problem is that Japan is not like America where things will get super cheap. Like, you're not going to be seeing Xboxes for $5 here. Like, where did you get that, like, at like a yard sale, or did you get that from a friend, or did you buy it in a shop? Because the trade-in, because the used game network here is so sophisticated, it's kind of hard to get super deals where you're just seeing someone who is just trying to unload an Xbox for like $5. You have to go to shops to find that usually, unless you know a lot of people. But I don't know a lot of people. But even if you did know a lot of people, not many of them are going to have Xboxes because it just sold so shitty here. Monster Hunter, I don't know about that, Fancy. I don't know much about Monster Hunter, so I can't tell you if there was one that was Xbox exclusive here. There were a few Xbox exclusives here that are pretty good, like Metal Wolf Chaos is one that I want to pick up, but that's like $100. I think there's a couple Fatal Frames that were Xbox exclusive. Yeah, see, Spruce, you're doing the Lord's work going to flea markets. Like, I think flea markets are kind of a thing in Japan, but not really. Like, I've only ever heard about them in whispers. I've never actually... The second-hand market in Japan is so sophisticated where you have so many used shops selling so many different things that will just take about anything. People in Japan don't rely on flea markets to get rid of their stuff. They will just go to these used shops that you'll just find everywhere. And that will generally, I would say, pay better than a flea market because you're not really wheeling and dealing. You're just getting a set price for all of your used stuff. That's why there are so many hard-offs here. But you're probably not gonna find a $5 Xbox in Japan. I mean, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying you probably won't. But I think something I'm going to be doing over the next couple months is getting Xbox 360 games, because now is the time. Like, I'm seeing them put Xbox 360 and PS3 games into the junk section of Hard Off. And I never thought I'd see the day, but that's just time. So... they're hitting rock bottom, plus I'm starting to see PlayStation games go up. I'm starting to see $200 PlayStation games. I never thought I would see that in my entire life. Like, I expected that from NES games, Super Nintendo games, but PlayStation games, like, there are barely even any $200 N64 games. Like, there's only maybe one or two complete $200 N64 games in Japan. But PlayStation games are outpacing N64 games, and I am fucking killing myself that instead of collecting SNES and NES games back when I first came to Japan, I decided to buy stupid N64 games. Oh my god, I could have saved myself so much money if I had bought SNES games 5 years ago. But you know what? You live and you learn. Look, Spruce. You know, you're 13 now. Hold on, I gotta adjust because I've been sitting down for so long. I gotta adjust my body. When I was your age, Spruce, when I was 13, I never thought in a million years I would be able to get to Japan. I was Japan, you know, it's the thing is that you are growing up in an age. God, now I just sound like an old timer. Back in my day when Snickers cost a nickel. It is now easier for you, for us, now in the year 2017. It is easier now more than ever to get to Japan. Where do you live, Spruce? I think give me some idea of, because, like, obviously if you're living, I don't know, if you're living in South Africa, obviously it's a lot harder for you to get to Japan than if you were living in, like, Seattle. But, you know, you'll be in college before you know it, and you can always study abroad in Japan. That's actually not... I know a lot of people who did that, and you'll probably, if you're going to be studying abroad at a university, you're probably going to be in a place that has a hard off, especially if you go to Tokyo. The thing about central Tokyo is you don't find hard offs in central Tokyo, but you take the train out, you hit the burbs, hard offs all over the place. So, and you know, by the time you'd be getting here, unless your family's going to pay for you to come out now, you know, think you got to think long term with this stuff. Think 5 years coming out to Japan, like, you know, when you're 18, when you're in school, or, you know, when you got a job, save up the money. Hard off's not going anywhere. And even if hard off does disappear, there's still going to be plenty of places you can go. And I can definitely send you some recommendations. But Ohio, I mean, shit, how would you get out of Ohio? You'd probably fly out of Ohio, go to Chicago. Oh my god. Oh, that's a control. That's not me. That was a controller. How much, how much are plane tickets to Japan? I paid, what did I pay? I recently bought my ticket to Japan, or from Japan to America, round trip. It was on an expensive airline, but that's the only airline that flies direct to where my parents live for $1,400 bucks. But I would bet you fly China Eastern. Sure, the service is not going to be as good as if you were flying on ANA. Seats might be a little bit rough, but you could probably get to Japan for less than $1,000 bucks, which I guess when you're 13 is an insane amount of money. But that's why, you know, just gotta book off. Yeah, book off. I would. Oh my god, that was, you know, no one ever actually told me about book off. I just discovered book off, like literally probably my third day in Japan. I remember walking around Shibuya or Shinjuku, seeing a sign for book off. I don't even know what it was about it. I just saw the sign for book off, and I was like, I need to go there. I don't know why. It was almost like an instinct. It was just like, I need to be there. And then I remember seeing Final Fantasy IX for literally $2. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I need. Yeah, you're right, Fancy. Like, I've had times where I buy my ticket. Like, I think I bought my ticket actually really early this time. So I bought it for $1,400. But I remember for some reason, there was some reason last year that I didn't I didn't bite the bullet as fast as I should have, so I ended up paying like 1,800 bucks to fly back home. And it was all because of time. It was because I think I just couldn't figure out the time or something. But yeah, I can. This is a no for you, Spruce. Book that shit early. Oh, fancy. I book off very regularly. Because that's where the book off, actually, the book off that's, there's a book off about 10 minutes down the street from me, and so that's where I buy all my manga. Actually, you know, I think I'll go, yeah, I think, alright, you've inspired me, Spruce. I'm gonna go into town today. Gonna go to Hard Off. I think, we might dive into the Super Nintendo games. Why the hell not? What else have I got going on? I need to get a haircut. That's what I need to do. Yeah, actually, Luke Morse, I watched a lot of his videos. When I needed to repair my Turbo Duo, my PC Engine Duo, I actually watched one of his videos to kind of learn how to replace the capacitors on that machine. And I only ever got it to output audio through one channel, but it's still, one channel is better than no channels. I actually need to fix that. If I ever move back to America, that's one of my goals, is to get my Turbo Duo back in fully working order. Because when I bought it, God, that was, I don't know if that was a mistake or not. I mean, I bought it for 150 bucks, complete in box, my PC Engine Duo. But they sold it to me as though it was working, like good. And it was for about 5 seconds when I turned it on. But then the sound cut out because the Turbo Duo has such shitty capacitors that if you don't replace them, they're just going to leak acid everywhere and just eat up your system and not have the sound work. Do I have, I have a couple Neo Geo CDZs, and I have a Neo Geo CD top loader, but I do not have an original Neo Geo yet. That is one of the consoles, that's like one of the only consoles I don't have. And it's just because I haven't gotten around to it. I've seen them around some places. I've had the opportunity to buy them, but they're always like $300, so it's not like I can just pull the trigger when I see it and buy it. I've always just been kind of biding my time and waiting to find that, you know, that deal. But I think probably, maybe next year. I think that's probably one of my goals, is next year to buy a Neo Geo. And especially, I really want to get the Neo Geo flash cart, because I'm not buying Neo Geo games. I'll buy a few just to have them in the box. I'll buy some of the cheap fighting games. I'm not getting into Neo Geo collecting. I do not have the cash for that. Like, every time I go to Super Potato or to Mandarake, Neo Geo games are always the most expensive. They're always hella expensive. Yeah, you know, when I want to play Neo Geo games, I emulate them. I emulate them, or I burn them on the CD. Because the CDZ it's pretty good. It loads really fast, so you can play Neo Geo games on it, no problem. The only problem is that not every Neo Geo game was ported over to the CD. But you can still play like Metal Slug 2, Magician Lord, Sonic Wings. You can play all three of those on the CD. Ugh. Do you have a Japanese N64, Spruce? Or did you cut the tabs on that too? Because, you know, even with the N64, you actually don't need to cut the tabs on it. All you need to do is, you can remove the dust guard at the bottom of your system, and the cartridges will go in regardless of region. But actually, you know, Japanese N64 games have not gone up in value. I know, because none of the games I bought are worth anything now. Not that they were worth anything when I bought them, but if you want to play N64 games, buy the Japanese versions. They're so much cheaper. Mario Kart, $5 game. Super Mario, $5 game. Banjo-Kazooie, $10 game. All the Mario Parties, $5 games. I bought Mario Party 3 complete in box, $10. Easy. N64 games, they're gonna stay cheap for probably a few more years, I bet. I'm kind of not for your, I mean, for your sake, I hope they don't go up, Spruce, but for my sake, I hope they do, because I have almost every Japanese N64 game, and only 2 of them have shot up in value. Yeah, you know, Fancy, Japanese PlayStations, the consoles, are still incredibly cheap, and I think they're always going to be, just because it was like it was, you know, one of the biggest consoles ever made. Like bigger, I would bet probably bigger than the Super Famicom. So there's always going to be cheap Japanese PlayStations. I mean, PlayStations, I see them in the junk for $5. You can probably buy them in the box on eBay for super cheap. I would pay probably $30-$40 for one on eBay. I can get them for $20 here, but you figure shipping, taxes. Probably get them for like $20 or $30-$40 on eBay. And I think, I mean, all you gotta do is buy a voltage converter. Just buy a voltage converter that plugs into your wall, and you'll play them no problem. I know the PlayStation, or get a Japanese PlayStation 2. Those have kind of come down in value, but some of them have actually gone up depending on what model they are. If you get a fat one, complete in box, $50. I think it's dual voltage on those power supplies, so you can just plug it in to your American wall socket, no problem. And you can play PS1. You'll play Japanese PS1 games on it. And plus, there are some Japanese PS1 games that have gone up in value, like a bunch of shooters that were low print run that are going for like $100 or $200 now. But there's still a lot of cheap PlayStation games. All the Final Fantasies, super cheap. You know, $40 for an American copy of Super Mario for Super Mario 64. I mean, it's not stupid, because it's a good game, and I think you'll get your money out of it. It's just you can find it cheaper elsewhere. That's you know, the thing that I have found with games is that there's overpaying, and then there's overpaying. Like, if you buy a game for like $40 and you enjoy it, you have a good time with it, okay, it's $40. I mean, for you, Spruce, you're young. $40 is still a lot of money. But if you're having fun with the game, so what? You had your fun. Yeah, you could have bought it for $20 somewhere else. You could have bought it. You could have found it at a flea market for $5, but you can't be everywhere. You can't be at every flea market ever. Like, you can have some patience, you can wait a little bit, but just think about all of the time and energy you would spend into finding a cheap copy of, say, a $5 copy of Super Mario 64. Is it really worth all of the time and effort that you would put into finding it, and the waiting and the anticipation and wanting it, rather than just spending the extra $25 and just playing it? For example, last year I paid $200 for a copy of Battle Garega for the Sega Saturn. And I have played the shit out of it. I still play it sometimes, even today. The thing is that it got re-released on the PS4. It got remastered, and its value dropped. It's no longer a $200 game. It's more like, I think I've seen it going for $140 or $150. Now, I wish I had bought it at $140 or $150, but I feel like after playing it for the last year, I have gotten my money's worth. It is one of my favorite games, and honestly, it is one of, probably, personally, is one of the best shooters ever made. So yeah, I spent an extra $50 on it that if maybe I had waited 6 months, I could have gotten it cheaper. But I have a job. $50 is, you know, it's not insignificant, but it's not too much. But I enjoyed my time with it all the same. Let's see the back. You know, Spruce, that's something I encounter a lot. Because for some reason, I don't know what it is about Japan. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's the materials they use for their Super Famicom games. But Super Famicom games can be all over the place in terms of quality. Especially with the back parts of cartridges. Like the plastic, like... It's almost like they used two different kinds of plastics for the front half of the shell and the back half of the shell. So they'll turn yellow at different rates. It's so weird. So you have these Super Famicom games where the front half will be a nice gray, and then the back half will be this nasty ass like orange or yellow. I don't get it. So sometimes and especially with like Sega Saturn cases, my copy of Battle Garega was in a really shitty case. So what I did was I went to the junk bin at a hard off. I bought a $1 Sega Saturn game just for the case, removed all the parts, swapped it out, and now my Battle Garega is in like mint condition basically. I think I did that for my copy of Saturn Symphony of the Night as well. But yeah, you know, if it's as long as the serial numbers or whatever, as long as the codes are all the same, because SNES games actually had a bunch of different cartridge label variants. Like, not within the game itself, but across the library. Like, you have different games that have different case serial numbers. So I think as long as you keep it the same, I don't think it's really that big of a deal if you were ever to turn around and sell it. Super Famicom games will turn yellow, but for some reason I haven't seen American games do that. Only the Japanese versions. So it had to have been something that they chose with the plastics. Like, they turn yellow just like the consoles do. Oh my god. Okay, we still got... I think I've been inspired by Spruce and by Fancy. I think this will be the last run. This will be the last round for the dojo today. Then I'm gonna head into town. And I'm gonna go to Hard Off. I'll make a video. Hopefully find a shelf that I can put into one of my closets. That would make my life. That would probably significantly improve my life, to be honest. Well, we should probably say goodbye, Spruce, because, well, I just died, so, yeah, you know what, maybe, we'll dive into the junk consoles. Alright, you know what, per the user request, we're gonna go junk diving today in the Hard Off, so I'll post that video when it happens, but, oh, there we go, that was half on purpose, but half not. I feel, you know, that last run was not so good, but we got to level 5 in Donkey Kong Jr. That is because I have become professional. I feel professional at Donkey Kong Jr. I'm going to call it there. That's been it for today's dojo. Thanks everyone for watching, for commenting. Hope to see you next time. I don't know what's gonna happen next time. I don't know what game we're gonna play next time, but there will be a next time. There will be another game. There's always going to be another game that needs to be mastered. That needs to be professionalized. And I'm going to do it. I have been jcontra, playing Donkey Kong Jr. for the Famicom. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And mahalo.